Watch Tyson, he's good, but he's no Muhammad Ali.
Joe Frazier would beat him up at his own style.
In your prime, could you have beaten him?
Everybody in this room here would have been able to beat Mike Tyson.
Kenny Norton too strong.
I'm going to destroy Mike Tyson.
I want this Mike Tyson. Is it gonna happen? I will assure you I'll do it in the same fashion, 1 or 2 rounds.
BoxingPedia log, Fantasy What If number 11. Mike Tyson is the grandest enigma in the sport's history. Questions have swirled on how he'd do in the golden age. According to the great Larry Holmes, not so well. According to Ali and Frazier, he would find success. In this timeline, 18-year-old Mike Tyson turns professional in 1969 after failing to qualify for the 1968 Olympics, a failure that gold medalist George Foreman taunts him for. Mike is Cus D'Amato's newest protege, sparking an immediate big bro little bro rivalry with the older Floyd Patterson in the aftermath of Floyd and Cus splitting back in 1963 after the Sonny Liston demolition job. Let's see what history has in store when Iron Mike Tyson enters his name into the Golden Age gauntlet. You'd be surprised at the ripples in history Kid Dynamite is about to cause. I'd imagine it would go something like this. In 1969, rookie Mike Tyson wins 15 fights all before the final bell, and Cus D'Amato pulls some strings to entice WBA titleist Jimmy Ellis into a title shot. When Tyson debuted, Cus did say that his boy would be champion, the youngest champion ever, and in that same debut year. He also says that if his boy were in the WBA tournament, he'd have easily won, and secretly, Floyd Patterson takes exception to these things. Angelo Dundee, miscalculating the risk, sees it as an easy tune-up before potential unification and gives the green light. When Tyson and Ellis meet, the challenger earns the moniker Kid Dynamite by blasting Ellis out in the first round to become the youngest heavyweight champion ever at only 19 years of age. Overnight, he becomes a knockout king megastar. It's a historical event in which a rookie exploded into the public eye by shattering the odds. Meanwhile, George Foreman collects 13 wins for his rookie campaign, but he was taking the distance twice. Joe Frazier defends the NYSAC title twice, having the fight of the year against Jerry Quarry. In 1970, early talks of unification are crushed by Jimmy Ellis activating his rematch clause. It was forced by Angelo Dundee more so. Ellis himself looks like he'd rather be anywhere else, and on fight night, Kid Dynamite doubles down by knocking Ellis out in the first round again, this time even quicker. Meanwhile, Joe Frazier claims the vacant WBC title in a shocking firefight with Floyd Patterson. Both men taste the canvas, but Joe has way more in the tank than Floyd. In the post-fight, Floyd says he's sure he did the best a fighter could with the peekaboo style, a jab that Cus and Mike take exception to. Unification talks between Tyson and Frazier resume but are halted again by Dundee interference. Turns out, a contractual obligation between Frazier and Ellis ensured him a WBC title shot. Thus, the two will fight. It goes as in reality with Frazier crushing Ellis. What a year for Jimmy. Even in devastating defeat for both titles, Mike Tyson defends the WBA title in a destructive knockout of Bob Foster. Floyd Patterson enters the ring after to pose a challenge, and Tyson starts a brawl over the subtle jabs that have taken place. Security separates the men, and Cus says Floyd isn't in league to challenge his boy. Meanwhile, in the background of the title scene does the forgotten champion, Muhammad Ali, return with 2 big wins over Jerry Quarry and Oscar Bonavena. Dundee's ace in the hole has arrived. Dundee and D'Amato immediately go to war over the rights for a fight against Joe Frazier. Dundee wins, and Frazier Ali is set. Also notable in our timeline is that Sonny Liston does not pass away. "1971 is opened by the fight of the century as Smokin' Joe Frazier emerges as the true heavyweight champion in the eyes of the boxing world, now possessing the lineage. Muhammad Ali goes back to the drawing board, and now the only question in the heavyweight title scene is Tyson versus Frazier. Yank Durham attempts to postpone the Tyson fight for Joe's health due to the beating Ali dished his man, but Cuss forces the affair by ensuring Joe will be stripped if the fight is delayed. Tyson, meanwhile, tunes up against his predecessor Floyd Patterson, and it's filled with bad blood. Both men swing for the fences and are stunned, but Tyson emerges with a TKO in the third round despite Floyd refusing to quit. Floyd says Mike won, but that he didn't beat him, and this rubs Tyson all wrong. Perhaps these two aren't done. In the build-up to unification, Frazier calls Tyson classless for his treatment of a great true champion like Floyd Patterson, and a brawl breaks out of the presser. Tyson hits Joe and catches a shot right back, followed by a shove, showing Frazier won't be bullied. On fight night, Tyson storms out and furiously drops Frazier over and over and over, but Joe keeps rising. Then the left hook catches a winded, discouraged Tyson, and he's in trouble. Frazier pounds away before dropping the dazed Tyson. Kid Dynamite rises but is waved off despite protests, and Joe Frazier is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Floyd Patterson enters and publicly congratulates the champion as Tyson and Cuss leave in disgrace. Still, there are detractors who claim the fight should have been stopped much sooner in favor of Tyson and proclaim him to be the true champion who the fix was in on, given the immediate stoppage. "1972 is a narrative-building year as in reality. Joe Frazier coasts with 2 easy defenses while Ali and Tyson clean out the division on their way back to the top. Tyson and Patterson have a rematch in which a mean, evil Tyson beats Floyd into retirement. The beating is so severe that Patterson goes into a coma after the knockout. Muhammad Ali, who had a scheduled fight against Patterson later in the year, publicly asks Tyson if he's crazy, and Tyson retorts by shaming Ali for dodging the draft. The two get into a scuffle mid-fight at Joe Frazier's second title defense and are escorted from the arena. Frazier frames Tyson and Clay as brash lunatics who bring shame to the sport. Elsewhere, emerging as the #1 contender is the undefeated knockout monster, George Foreman, who has quietly wreaked havoc amidst the madness of the title scene. He and Frazier signed to fight next year. Muhammad Ali mercilessly trashes Tyson in the press as a poser who doesn't belong in the division, and Tyson goes irate. In Patterson's place, Tyson closes the year against Ali in a tense battle for the #2 contender spot that breaks records in attendance and money drawn. The two megastars are meeting. Ali's dancing proves problematic as he can't catch up, despite his training being just for a fighter like Ali. The Louisville lip is an anomaly, and he boxes Tyson's head off. On the rare cases where he does catch Ali, the lip shakes it off and retakes control, even keeping his cool while being called Clay mid-fight by Mike. Tyson, frustrated more than ever before that nothing is working, fouls and is disqualified. He is suspended indefinitely. "1973 is opened by George Foreman eviscerating Joe Frazier in a shocker to become the new undisputed champion. Cuss uses the showcase to show Tyson why he must avoid Foreman, something he failed to protect Patterson from in the form of Sonny Liston. Tyson's pride stemming from the Olympic embarrassment won't let him obey Cuss, and he sets his mind to working toward becoming #1 contender. His return fight comes against the ancient Sonny Liston, despite protests from Cuss. Liston hasn't lost since 1969, but he's fought relative nobodies. Against Tyson, Liston is blasted into retirement in the first round by a merciless Tyson barrage that sees him leave on a stretcher. The Big Bear's reputation despite his age, and how he went out, fully established Tyson as a force of doom. This was Tyson's way of showing Cuss that he can beat George Foreman. He doesn't entirely make a believer out of him, but the glass is cracking if you get what I mean. The next day, news breaks that Floyd Patterson has awakened from his coma and is making a full recovery, while Sonny Liston, unfortunately, succumbs to his injuries in the hospital some days later. Mike Tyson becomes the most polarizing figure in boxing. Meanwhile, Muhammad Ali splits a duology with Ken Norton and becomes #1 contender. (1974) is opened by Muhammad Ali avenging his loss to Joe Frazier. George Foreman crushes Ken Norton as he did Joe Frazier and appears invincible. Mike Tyson continues climbing the ranks, culminating with a match against Ken Norton on the undercard of the Rumble in the Jungle. Tyson initially struggles against Norton's awkward style, but emerges with a knockout in the 4th. Tyson was almost disqualified for not stopping his onslaught when the referee intervened. In the main event, Muhammad Ali makes history by pickling and knocking out George Foreman as Frazier, Norton, and Tyson all look on. Foreman does not exile himself as he did in reality, piling up his mental torture, worse than in reality. In 1975, Mike Tyson and Joe Frazier have an eliminator bout to open the year. Tyson promising there won't be any chance for corruption this time. In this rematch, Frazier's slow start proves his doom as Tyson blitzes him. Again, Frazier refuses to stay down, but this time the fight is stopped before he can mount a comeback out of fear Tyson will ruin another fighter. Tyson then rematches Ali in the Philippines, and the buildup is so insane that the two aren't allowed in the same room before the fight. Once again, the two megastars draw money like crazy and the world is watching. Cuss focuses on keeping Tyson calm and mentally solid this time around. Tyson struggles again against Ali's dancing, but gains the advantage when Ali slows down. Ali absorbs punishment but won't go down, and Cuss reminds Tyson not to gas himself. He takes heed, but Ali gets his second wind and starts making up rounds. In a battle of wounded warriors, Ali emerges by outlasting Tyson for the split decision. In defeat, Tyson showed that the era has toughened him, as he would have normally been stopped in a war like this. Ali and Tyson embrace after, seemingly having earned one another's respect. In a public sit-down with Howard Cosell, the two make amends. Tyson even says that he now understands and respects Ali's choice not to fight in Vietnam. (1976) is opened by the monstrous Foreman-Lyle affair, which George wins. Then George crushes Joe Frazier again to become #1 contender, retiring Frazier at that. In a rematch, George then stops Muhammad Ali on his feet to become heavyweight champion again, earning the ire of the boxing public. Ali is forced to retire due to his injuries. Floyd Patterson, back to health, makes amends with Cuss and joins the Tyson camp as an advisor. After nearly losing his life, he begs Cuss not to vicariously live through Mike with that whole my own Sonny Liston stuff, to which Cuss takes heed. Floyd says he felt as if Cuss was replacing him with Mike and apologizes for instigating. Tyson, humbled after his best effort loss to Ali, is receptive and begins turning his life around. He caps off a great year of contender bashing by surviving Ernie Shaver's power to secure the knockout, again showing how this era has made him tougher both physically and mentally. (1977) opens with Tyson and Foreman finally signing to fight in Puerto Rico. It's the revenge Mike has longed for since 1968, but it's also the shot George has waited for to avenge his fallen master Sonny Liston. In this fight, Tyson is the most reserved and defensive he's ever been, appearing more nimble on his feet akin to Floyd Patterson. He gets in and gets out, knowing he has no chance of knocking George out. It works, until Tyson goes down from an uppercut. He answers and gets on his bike as George exhausts himself in the heat trying to end Tyson's career in cold blood for Sonny Liston. blinded by hate and rage. George has failed to learn from Zaire, and it doesn't help that he arrived in San Juan late, making him weak to the extreme heat. Out of steam, George suffers a knockdown due to exhaustion, but beats the count and the fight goes to the cards. Mike Tyson becomes undisputed champion by majority decision and earns the love of the boxing world. He also proves to have matured as a man and fighter to a new level, as he didn't become absorbed by knockout revenge, which ironically earned him the best get back. He is seen celebrating in tears with Floyd Patterson. The dream of a peekaboo fighter overcoming a monster has come to pass. A mentally shattered George refuses to credit a murderer and retreats to his locker room in disgrace. He has his coming to God moment and retires. (1978) sees Tyson defend the title thrice. The first is a knockout of Jimmy Young. The second is a knockout of Ron Lyle. Larry Holmes beats Ken Norton to earn a title shot. When Tyson and Holmes meet, Larry controls the action behind his jab but is caught by a monstrous right that fails him. He answers and survives by clinching before retaking control and stopping Tyson late to become undisputed champion. Or so we thought. Larry is actually DQ'd for hitting Tyson while he was down, and his bitterness begins here. He also alleges that Mike bit him in a clinch. Tyson retains the title and deliberates on if he'll continue fighting after such a taxing career. In 1979, as Larry waits for an answer, Mike announces he is retiring as champion. Larry Holmes defames Tyson, marking himself as even more of a villain. He captures the WBC title and reigns until 1985, as in reality. In 1986, a refreshed 36-year-old Mike Tyson, who has continued his training and has aged like fine wine in this reality, returns to participate in the HBO World Series. His return is in dedication and memory to Cuss, who passed away in 1985, and Tyson figures if Cuss can make him the youngest heavyweight champion, he will be the oldest heavyweight champion as well. Floyd Patterson helms the Tyson camp now, and Kevin Rooney is head trainer. Due to his age, Tyson's new strategy is to get his guys out of there early with a swarm. In a series of legacy-defining fights from 1986 to 87, he unifies the division to become the first ever three-time heavyweight champion. First Trevor Berbick, then Bone Crusher Smith, then Pinklin Thomas, then Tony Tucker, all to win the alphabet titles. The Tucker fight is a very close split decision as opposed to reality, proving old Mike has become tougher and resilient. In 1988, Tyson defeats Michael Spinks to capture the lineage. Again, this coming down to fear. It makes Tyson the oldest undisputed champion at 38 years old. Larry Holmes returns to claim the lost rematch from the 70s, and Tyson accepts, announcing it might be his final fight. Larry, older than Tyson and suffering from 2 years of ring rust, is knocked out as in reality. Bitter, Holmes refuses to credit Tyson after and claims he'd have won a fight between the two at their peaks a decade earlier, but Mike ran out on him. In fact, he says he already beat Mike. He's booed to oblivion. Tyson, meanwhile, earns a new nickname in his second career. Kid Dynamite is no more. There is only Iron Mike Tyson. His gauntlet earns him the Iron Man tag, logically. In 1989, Tyson decides to have one more fight before hanging up the gloves, and it's against the new heavyweight Evander Holyfield. It's against the advice of his camp, but he presses on. Though putting up a valiant effort, the real deal's youth and ferocity proved too much for the aged legend, as he survives the early swarm and stops Iron Mike in the 10th. Evander Holyfield is the new undisputed heavyweight champion and heading into the 90s as the man to beat. Old man George Foreman, now a reformed man of God and back to reclaim the title, jokingly gives Tyson grief for ducking him in favor of Holyfield, and Tyson puts Foreman over, saying, "I didn't want any part of you, you monster." The two have a talk in private, man to man, where they clear the air and make amends for the past. George, of course, goes on to achieve his dream of Ali, Frazier, and Tyson present in support for his victory over Michael Moorer. It makes him the new oldest heavyweight champion at 45, giving him a one-up over Iron Mike after all. Tyson enjoys retirement and a grander legacy than he does in reality. He's inducted into the Hall of Fame in the year 2000 and avoids much of the trouble he got into in the real 1990s. Mike and Larry make amends as older men. And yes, Tyson still becomes the laid-back, beloved legend we know him as today, with a podcast and all. Oh, and he blasts out Jake Paul as an even older man too. Don't forget that part. And that'll do it. Iron Mike Tyson's tale had he fought in the 70s golden age ends here. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. You can become a member if you'd like special perks or to just support BoxingPedia further. This has been The Charles Jackson, author of the Boxing Encyclopedia, and I'll see you in my next log. Stay frosty and keep punching.